internet.
And we're back for another exciting episode of Creators Collective. We're going to be having another fun week here. We are actually going to be talking about the Instagram contest and naming a winner. But we have a bunch of other things, and we actually have several good questions that were submitted this week, and we'll be diving into those. So this should be an action-packed session as long as we don't talk too much. In which case, then it'll be a long action-packed session. But we'll see how this goes. So, Zach, why don't you kick us off? What you working on? So it'll be a long action-packed session.
Yes, if you guys could see how many windows I have open, I probably have. I mean, so it's crazy when we do this. When we do this chat, we have like how many windows do we have? We have like our recording one. We have our Hangouts one. We have the pop out one.
9,
show
10,
notes.
11, 12. I have 12 windows open.
I have that plus like the 12 windows that are always open. Like I'll stumble across like a website or an article or something that I think is really interesting, and then I just leave it up in the tab instead of bookmarking it like an adult would do. I just leave it in the tab. And I think, I'll just go back and read that when I have time, and I just accumulate those things over the period of 6 months until it just gets ridiculous, and each tab is like so small that I can only see like the first 2 letters on it. So yeah, I need to do that. Anyway, what were we talking about?
What are you working on?
What's on your bench, not on your desktop?
Oh man. So I have notes. I wrote all of this down because I forget. Oh yeah, okay, so I have some exciting stuff going on. That welding cart video that I've been talking about forever,
yeah,
I'm really excited because like this is a project that's the first one that I've put thought into, like the recording and like shooting and production and like just stepping up that whole game. And then I'm like, I'm going to write my own music for this video because I spent one day, I'm like, man, I can't find the right songs. And as much as I love Cola, the guy that I use most of his music in my videos for, he's a great guy. I've just like heard those songs because when you edit a video, and you guys can vouch for me on this, you get, if you have ever done anything with music, by the time you're done editing that video, even if it's only 8 minutes long, like that song or whatever songs you used will be stuck in your head for the next month of your life, because you spend, even though the song's only 3 minutes, by the time you're done editing the video, you've probably listened to that song for 7 hours straight.
Yes.
And it just gets repulsive, no matter how good the music is. So I need to take a break from like the same 15 songs I use for all my videos. And I decided, you know what, like, I need to get back into music. That was a big passion of mine. So I'm like, I'm going to start recording my own music. And so I've been doing that, and I'm just waiting on the production. One of my friends in Portland that we used to jam together. So I'm doing all the tracking and stringed instruments and all that. And he's just, I mean, this dude should be a famous composer. I mean, you can record any sound and he'll turn it into like a symphony. So I'm just waiting to get those tracks back on that to put that into the video, and hopefully I'll get that out today or Saturday. I just feel like Friday is a bad day to put videos out. So not that I buy too much into that whole mysticism of what day you put the video out, but I think Friday's unanimously a bad day to put videos out. So welding cart video, backlit steel sign. When I went to the Cleveland event, the Lincoln Electric thing, they cut out my logo and it looks awesome. And I'm going to turn that into a sign. So I got everything that I need for that yesterday. I got some of the, have you guys worked with the LEDs, the sticky LEDs?
Yeah, once.
Yeah. So I got a spool of those in. It's weird though, because you get like so much of it and you have to cut so much of it off, and then it's just garbage. I just feel really guilty. So that one should go pretty quick. I'm going to have that video out in the next few weeks as well. And that's going to cover kind of the trip to Cleveland as well as that little build there. So, and I was on the Make or Break podcast yesterday, which was a lot of fun. So I think, James, you've been on that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool podcast.
You're, you have alien voice audio, 6-bit audio there, 8-bit audio.
Zach, can't you on those LEDs? I thought you could solder jumper connections to the next.
You probably can, but then I mean, because when you get that bundle, at least the one that I ordered, and I'm sure I'm going to get flooded with like, "You're an idiot, buy these ones instead" emails.
Yeah, you will.
But it comes with one connection because it's like the remote. Actually, I'll look it up. Let me pull up the. I could find the one that.
Yeah, I guess.
You have to buy little jumper cables that can actually clip onto the end. You don't have to solder them, and that will allow you to turn corners or extend them out and put another one in another place.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
because I've seen a lot of people.
I have a whole bag of them over here.
See, I'm trying to find the right window right now that has the link to the one that I clicked
JW
on, right?
Craftsman in the live chat is just saying you solder in a new power supply and you can use the rest of the spool.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, most people can solder in. They'll have like these little 4 or 5 pin connectors that you can plug in.
Huh. I think I caught some of that, what you said.
Am I still fuzzy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if you get the bullhorns that had like the 3 switches. You had like the alien voice and you had like the deep voice and stuff. I wonder if we got one of those and put it on, if it would like decode your audio and make you sound normal again.
Yeah, you could talk like a demon the rest of the show.
Okay, is this any better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's actually the webcam mic.
I mean, the audio isn't great, but we can hear you.
Yeah. Better. We can deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So I'm working on. Yesterday was a snow day for me and the family. The first day of spring, we got about 6 inches of snow throughout the day. So I was plowing my ridiculously long driveway in multiple sessions and stopping when I'd get cold and wet and like go throw my pants in the dryer. And then, so yesterday was kind of a wash for getting anything done because my daughter doesn't let me work in the office without coming in there and like smashing the keyboard. I am going to install the Live Edge spalted Hackberry vanity countertop this afternoon at a friend of mine's house that's going wall to wall. I got that countertop scribed and fit. It's a 6-foot wall with 2.5 foot little walls that kind of come out, and the walls are like a 1/2 inch out. Like there's a 1/2 inch belly from side to side. So it would have looked really, really janky if I didn't try to scribe it. If I just tried to cut a rectangle and put it in there.
Who made that wall?
Yeah, right. I'm doing a little R&D for Grizzly. They are looking at picking up a new set of carbide chisels, carbide turning tools. So they're sending me out a sample set to see if I think they're good, if they're bad, if they should pick them up, if they shouldn't. Just kind of run them through their paces and kind of give them my feedback and say, yeah, they're great. They're totally, awesome for carbide, or nah, I'd pass. And I'd started finishing the basement to put like a bedroom and a bathroom down there and a finished hallway, and just getting some honeydews. My wife's been on me to start that project for a long time, and I finally got that started. And most of all, I'm just trying to motivate. I got kind of in a funk with the winter and like just delays on things, and I couldn't like get myself rolling on projects and getting videos out and getting projects started for other clients. And so today I'm like,
let's
carpe diem.
I think let's talk about that a bit. I bet a lot of people have had that sort of same dilemma before, where they're just kind of not motivated to do stuff. Like, what was the hang up?
Yeah. How do you guys stay motivated? Because Zach, you're both of you guys are like seem to be super productive.
I always try and find things that motivate me, because I'll be halfway into a project and I'll be like, I don't want to do this one anymore. And then so I'll find something else that drives me. Something else that's like, ooh, that looks like fun. Let's try that. So rather than trying to be motivated about a project, I'm okay with that, and I find that my My creative juices are best when I am driving on a project, when I find something that's really interesting to me. So I'm okay with jumping around.
All right. So I feel like I'm just kind of like ADD, where like if I jump around, like nothing gets done. Like, 'cause I only do a little bit on each thing, and like I procrastinate on the things that I don't want to do, so I jump on something else, and then
It's
like,
dangerous, man.
yeah,
I know how it is though. Like I'm kind of prone to do it. I don't allow that to happen to myself, or I try not to, but I'm the same way. But I mean, like I didn't realize it was weird until, probably 10 years ago. But like even when I eat food, I have all of one thing before I start the next thing. And apparently that's weird.
I know a few people like that, but I always thought it was weird too.
Yeah. So I mean, I try and do the same thing with, I guess that mentality is just what helps me, uh, make progress, because I'm the same way. It's super easy for me to get distracted. And I think being aware of that is the first step. It's like any addiction, and a lot of people are addicted to stimulus. And I think that's really what, ADD is you need to have more. But, being able to being mindful of the fact that like, nope, I'm getting distracted and this isn't what I really want. I think being able to break things up into, this was something that stuck with me from years ago, is realizing what you feel like doing and what you want to do, and knowing the difference, being able to distinguish the difference between those two. Because I mean, um, I'll use like the gym for example, just because I don't think anybody likes going to the gym. I mean, I'm sure there's
I
people that
do.
do. Well, you're weird
I
though,
look forward
James.
to going to the gym. They have child watch. Someone else takes care of my kids for 3 hours.
This is coming from the guy who runs like 20 miles in 4-degree weather, so take that with a grain of salt. But what I'm getting at is the difference between what you need and what you want, because it's a simple analogy. I'm going to use the gym. Everybody wants to be in better shape or in good shape, but you never really feel like going to the gym. And being able to distinguish what you want from what you need. It's the same thing with a project. Like I want to work on this project. I want to finish it, but I don't feel like doing it right now. And how are you going to make your decision? Are you going to make it on what you want for yourself or what you feel like doing at the moment? So that's something that I always, if I'm lacking motivation, I know, even if I don't feel like it, I'm like, no, this is what I need to do. This is the right choice. And it's the same thing, is like, once you get started, once you get off the couch and you start moving, then it's easy and it's fun. Same thing
Yeah.
with like, like once you're there, it's not that bad. It's like getting into a pool. I mean, leave 80, 90-degree weather and jump into a 60-degree pool or 70-degree pool. But once you're in it, it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
See, I'm in the opposite boat because it's also one of the reasons why I like hand tools, is that I get to do things purely because I want to do them. And if I don't want to do it, then I do something else that I do want to do. But I know, because of my mindset, that's okay, because I know at some point in the future, I'm going to come back to this project that I didn't want to do at that time, and I want to do it now. And so if I only do things when I want to do them, then everything will eventually be done. But that's my personality. It's a very different.
Yeah.
Some people.
Yeah, I guess.
And a lot of times for me, when I run into something I don't want to do, either I find another project that I want to do, or I find a different way to do what I have to do and make it something that I want to do. Like I have to turn something. Well, I don't want to, go get a powered lathe, but a spring pull lathe, that's fun. So it's a different way of doing the same thing, finding a way that is actually enjoyable that you want to try, which is usually, for me, finding a harder way to do it or a new way to do it that gets my juices going and makes me want to do it.
Yeah, I think I just need one of those like really productive shop days where I'm just like just like to get me motivated again. Yeah, I just kept running into like little stuff or little like weird things, and I'm working with a lot of heavy live edge slabs lately, just because I guess if you do one thing, then everybody wants you to do that same thing, which is cool. It's a niche or a niche, however you want to say that. But like I'd be like almost finished on a project, and then I'd flip the slab over, and there'd be like a little piece chip of something on my bench, and then I flipped the thing back over on the showcase, and now there's like a dent in the in the finished piece, and I'm like, I had to go back and address that. And so I just need like a good shop day and get all the small stuff out of my shop so I can like get my shop clean and then just kind of just go.
Yeah.
And I was really looking forward to spring, like when I can open up my shop doors and my shop windows and, have the dogs running in and out and birds chirping and stuff like that. But then we got this, surprise snow, 6 inches. And I was like dealing with that yesterday. But anyway, I'm just boo-hooing, but I'm going to get I'm motivating. I got one more thing that's really exciting to motivate me also. I was out last weekend and ran into some old friends. They just bought an old condemned house. They're gutting it, turning it into a pizza place. Anyway, and they cut down. Oh, we got dogs. And they cut down this tree that needed to come down in the backyard. And it turns out it was this giant dogwood, the biggest dogwood I've ever seen. I mean, the thing's probably, I don't know, 15, 16 inches across, which is huge for a dogwood. And so I did a little research on the kind of area of town and when that kind of got developed. And I dated this dogwood between 1890 and 1920. And so I'm going to turn it into lots of cool stuff. Some people want some mallets, bowls, stuff like that. So that's actually really, really motivating.
Cool. That's cool. I was going to say it a few minutes ago, before my dogs interrupted me, but we were just talking about how weird James is. And, I feel like I came up with a perfect description when we were at the Workbench Con. I was talking about James, and I was saying he's the kind of guy that would take up smoking just so that he could quit. And I feel like that's the perfect summation. I could imagine you having a conversation with a smoker and then being like, you don't get it. And then you would totally take up smoking and quit just to be like, yeah, it wasn't that hard. I don't know what your problem is.
Yeah.
That's your personality. I love it.
Or like get into like opioids.
Yeah.
Right on.
The most amazing willpower of any human being I've ever met.
All right. Speaking of
stubbornness,
glutton for punishment, James, what are you working on?
The glue test.
Yeah.
I'm about 3/4 of the way of gluing on all 1,280 of those blocks.
Jesus.
And
well, see what I mean, guys?
What's that?
Let's see what I mean, guys. It's insane.
And then Wildman Tech is actually building the frame for the testing rig. He just finished it up this week. He did a live video of him building that. So he'll be sending that out here soon. So hopefully sometime early April, I'll actually be doing this test and then going through and one by one busting off every block. And every block I bust off, then I have to write on the block what its strength was, that individual's block code, then take a picture of the block, and then take a picture of the backer board that it came off of, and then move on to the next one and do the exact same thing over again 1,280 times.
This is like the Human Genome Project, but like just a little bit different.
So yeah, that's it's coming along, and the super glues are really nice. They're a lot faster for some reason. But other things in the shop, I just started up a Facebook group. Zack, you kind of encouraged me to do that. So I have a Facebook group called Wood by Right Hive Mind, and it's kind of my sounding board. So if anyone is interested in kind of having a voice or a say in what's going on with Wood by Right, it's a place I can go to and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you guys think of that? And I've been really getting a lot of good ideas on that. So if you look up on Facebook, Wood by Right Hive Mind, you can ask to join in there. Yeah, and speaking of that, I was going to be doing a video for Saturday that fell apart. What I was planning on just wasn't going to work, so I'm going to do that another time. But then one of the guys in the Hive Mind said, well, why don't you make coasters? I'm like, well, I've never made coasters, and that's a pretty quick, easy project. So I'm making coasters. And I'm actually going to be, I'm live broadcasting because I'm playing with that on Facebook. So on my Facebook page, I'm going to be doing a live feed of building the coasters start to finish. So I did half it yesterday. I'll do the other half today. So if you guys like watching that while you're at work or something else, you can pull that up and see an actual behind the scenes real-time view of how long it takes me to make something.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to make some coasters.
Yeah.
What's that?
What?
I think I'm going to make some coasters.
Uh-oh.
A video on doing a video on different finishes and their kind of hold up to wear and use. And I think a coaster is a perfect end goal to, make some coasters and then finish a bunch with different finishes, and then do like the water test, the coffee test, the soda can test,
alcohol test.
Alcohol test.
Shellac and coasters is not a good.
That's
good
right.
combo.
That's right.
Unless it's a dry bar or a non-alcoholic bar, not a dry bar. That's a different.
That's
thing.
just called a restaurant or a cafe, I think.
I don't know these things.
All right. So somebody was excited about something before I jumped in.
Yeah, I also have a hand plane I'm making. I'm going to be making a low angle jack. So I've got a blade from Hawk Toolworks, and I'm going to be making it out of hard maple. So that will be coming up hopefully at the end of next week.
Oh, cool.
So kind of a separate side project.
Wooden jack?
Yeah, wooden low angle jack, but it will be a bevel down low angle jack.
Do you just grind that bevel different, or does Hawk actually sell bevel down low angle?
I will redress it to 25 because I think it's at 30 right now.
Okay.
I'll actually have the bed at 30 degrees. So normally a low angle plane has an active angle of 12.5 plus 30, 12.5 plus 25. So it's 37.5. So I'll be able to put this all the way down to a 30-degree active angle, actual cutting. So it'll be a lower angle than your average low angle plane.
It's ultra low angle.
Yeah, but it will also have a chip breaker, so you can still do the ultra fine with the low angle.
Huh.
So I've had this discussion with a few people. So people like low angle jack planes because they tear out less. Is that right? But then working with super figured woods use a high angle jack plane.
Yeah. They tear out more if you go against the grain or if you're in figure.
Okay.
That's why you want to use the higher angle for that. The big benefit to them is, number one, they're easier. There's less doohickeys and knobs and adjustments. And number two, they push easier because your angle of attack is slightly lower.
Okay. But yeah. So somebody was trying to tell me that low angle jack planes offer less tear out, but that didn't make any sense to me because you'd be easier to get under that tricky grain and just.
Yeah. The big problem is that they don't have a chip breaker. And because they don't have a chip breaker, there's no way to crush the curl early, and stop the tear out. And also because the low angle, they tend to be more like a wedge and slide underneath the grain and pop the grain out. Whereas with a traditional smoothing plane, bevel down, you have a chip breaker that will break the curl early, so that it doesn't tear out. And number two, it's higher, so it's also compressing the curl. And then number three, because it's higher, it's not like a wedge going underneath it. It's a little bit more a slightly more scraping action than you would get with the lower angle. So if you have really high figured wood, you can set up a plane to do most all high figured wood, but the amount of adjustment it takes is astronomical. The chip breaker's got to be really close to the edge. The mouth has got to be tight. The blade's got to be sharp. Everything's got to be fine. And so it takes a lot more work to do that.
Right.
People don't like work, though.
But you do.
Yes.
Cool. Should we get into some Q&A?
Yeah. We actually have Egbertjoe. I'm guessing that's the name. It's all one smushed together. He sent us 3 questions this week, and there were some very good questions. Number one was, who's going to be the first person to do electronic projects? You talk in your intro about doing electronics, but it seems like I haven't seen any of you do any electronic projects besides maybe Zack's lamp. Maybe James doing a hand tool project and then an Arduino?
I would like to interject and say I have done electronics projects. I made a couple Bluetooth, wireless Bluetooth speakers that had some circuit boards and Bluetooth receivers and soldering and speakery goodness in it. So yeah, I've done electronics.
I don't know. Like, so I went to school to do that stuff. I actually have, you probably can't see it in here. I have a box back there that has like an oscilloscope, a power generator, like all the electrical engineering tools one could ever dream of using. And I got so sick of doing that stuff in school. I just never want to see it again. I mean, I have like probably $4,000 worth of equipment in a box back there, and I've been here for 2 years and I haven't even set it up. However, I have considered making a guitar amp, which might, I mean, I used to build guitar and tube amplifiers. So I have one. I don't know where it went. I have one somewhere in this room that I built. But now that I'm getting back into doing music and stuff, I think that might make for a cool project video.
That would be.
Oh yeah.
Probably make, what I'm thinking about doing is actually doing a video. I had this idea the other day, is doing a video where I start out with just like some sort of like sanding or something, and like that becomes like the percussion, and then like I build the guitar, and then I can start playing the guitar for the rest of the track, and then I build an amp, and then I can plug the guitar into the amp, and like so the song would actually build along with the instruments that I make. So, but that's so ambitious, it'll probably never actually happen, but it's a cool idea.
That is ambitious. I've definitely wanted to build an amp, and I've got some whiskey barrels that I think I want to break down and make a whiskey barrel amp. And because Fender actually made one some years back, it was like a special edition Jim Beam Fender collaboration thing. And then I was kind of got my mind rolling. And yeah, so I want to build an amp, so I'll probably be picking your brain about that, Zach.
I have you can see on the background maybe there. I'll see if I can point with my pencil.
Yeah.
That one and that one, and I have some more on the walls over there. And actually, you can see an old antique tube AM tube radio right there.
Yeah,
I turned all of those into guitar amplifiers, and with like 3-band EQs and stuff. I might do something like that just because it's so easy. I mean, tube amps are pretty straightforward. I mean, like the old 5E3 circuit, which I don't know where that amp went. It's somewhere in this room. It's probably buried in a corner. But that's one of the ones. That's the one that I kept. They're actually pretty straightforward. I mean, as long as you can solder, it's not that difficult unless you start getting into the theory. But tube amps really aren't that complicated.
Yeah.
But even like these things with the I think LM386 is the chipset. There's just an IC chip. I mean, there's like 10 things that you solder together and you get a pretty good sounding amp. It has decent clipping and overdrive characteristics, so it actually sounds kind of analog-y and nice. But yeah, I built those for one of my projects when I was going to school, and they're pretty easy. So I mean, I could do something like that in a couple hours. So I might do one of those just to show it.
All right. You do a tube amp video so I can watch it, and then I'll make my tube amp.
Okay, well, I'd start with just the chip one. I mean, if somebody wants to get into like building amplifiers, I would start out with just the basic. I think it's called the Ruby, is like the generic amp that uses an LM386 chip, which is what those are. It's a pretty straightforward circuit. I mean, unless you start, you can, and the cool thing is, I mean, if you know your theory and stuff, you can change the impedance and put like I think on that one, I put like a 1/8 inch jack in it so that I could, plug my phone into it and play music through it and you still get the same EQ. There's just a different impedance for like audio going in versus like the high Z of an instrument. So, but yeah, if you want to get all theoretical about it, you can.
Cool.
Yeah. For me, actually, my master's was in automation, and so I've wanted to do that, but it just doesn't quite fit the channels much. Although I do have a really fun idea with a Raspberry Pi I want to put together, but maybe someday.
An automated hand plane.
That was my rocket plane.
Yeah.
That was one of the most hilarious. I didn't even hear anything you said because I was just laughing at the fact that you made a rocket-powered hand plane. That should have gone viral. I mean, just the idea is worth, that was amazing. If anybody hasn't seen James's rocket-powered hand plane video, I highly suggest checking it out. It's every bit as ridiculous as you would expect it to be.
All right. So, do we get into Egbertjoe's second question?
Yeah, go ahead and read that off.
Okay. Where do you guys draw the line between making and building? You build a house, not make a house. You can build or make furniture. What size or scale do you draw the line? For me, just because I grew up in construction, I would say rough framing is like building. So when I'm finishing the basement, that's all rough framing with, framing nail guns, stud material, 2x material, where I feel like making is on a smaller scale, like small furniture, and maybe more advanced joinery. But I don't know. That's a good question.
I would put it to the characteristic of, can you pick it up? So if you can carry it, then you make it. If you have to call someone over to move it, and the two of you can move it, then it's kind of on the edge where you could make it or you can build it, like a dining room table. You can make a dining room table. You can also build a dining room table. But then if you can't move it, then it's definitely a build.
I don't think there's any distinction between the two. I think it's semantics. I think if you're creating something, it's just it's an adjective. Like you're either building it, you're making it, like whatever.
I would say
it's like soda or pop. Like it doesn't matter. Like you're doing something with your hands. It's awesome.
I would say you build a house, but you make a home.
Oh, that just sounds poetic. I think it's one of those nonsensical things that just sounds nice.
I think I read that on a sign in like a Cracker Barrel once.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could imagine that like embroidered on something over the toilet in a fancy restaurant.
Making takes your hands, but building takes your hands, but making takes your heart.
Ooh.
Oh, I feel like that kind of goes with the old adage of like a laborer uses his hands, an artisan uses their brain. I don't know. There's some old adage about like the different levels of like, laborer, like craftsman, artisan, artist, where like you use the head, the heart, and the hands.
You know what I would like to see over a toilet in a Cracker Barrel? I would like to see, you can make glue out of pretty much any body part. That's our first shirt, I think.
I started yesterday's video. Yeah, I think it was yesterday's video off with that joke.
Yeah, I watched that because I had to see how you made glue out of milk, and you started that off, and I'm laughing a lot of lots of things right now. The live chat, Make Brooklyn said my quote would make a great tramp stamp.
I was going to ask you, was that I just lost all track of or all sense of time, but you did the film, was the last Film School Friday that you did, was that last week? Did you actually put it out last Friday?
No, I skipped one just because life got in the way and projects got in the way. And I'm kind of going off of the Peter McKinnon mantra where he started 2-Minute Tuesdays and would do similar, effects tutorials and things. But they started kind of getting in the way of him doing anything else. So where he's said that he didn't want them to be every Tuesday. They were just kind of a segment on his channel that he could put out, So instead of trying to rush them out, I want to make them like super, super quality. Like this next video is going to be like my editing process, which I think is kind of an abstract. It's like, how do you make a video about editing, but you're also editing the video about editing? So it's kind of like this, like mind.
It's like kind of an Inception thing.
Yeah. So I'm struggling with figuring that out, but I want that video to be like really high quality, really good. So I'm going to put that out when it's out. It probably won't be out tomorrow, but they're still coming.
Okay,
Cool.
I just wanted to make sure because I really enjoy those.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to save the other 2 questions for next week and
Okay.
next time, and let's jump into the joke of the week. And this
Yes.
is a good one. This is especially good. I really like this one. This comes from Make Brooklyn, someone who watches the channel. He's in the live chat right now. And what did the saw say to the drill? Nothing. Tools are inanimate objects. They don't have language skills.
The anti-joke.
Yes. Yes, the anti-joke.
All right.
Well, why don't you lead us off into the photo challenge?
Yeah. Well, why don't you do that?
Okay. So the photo challenge. So this week we are talking about the last challenge and our favorites, and not the current challenge. The current challenge is hands-on tools. Make an interesting photo with your hand or someone's hands on some tools. Has to be appropriate. So, you know,
like tools is very literal.
Yeah.
Not figuratively.
Yeah, it has to be appropriate. It can be funny. It can be dramatic. It can be powerful, uplifting, inspiring, but appropriate.
Or depressing.
Depressing. Yeah.
It can be awful.
So the first challenge was interesting. It was photos of hand planes. And I'm going to lead off my favorites with Dan R. Carey on Instagram. He posted a really hilarious photo of a little figure, little action figure planing with a block plane.
Yes.
And it was just really well lit. It was humorous. It was just creative. It was really, really good. The second one was just a beautiful image of another block plane. It was backlit. The highlights were perfect. It was just a really nice photo. It was Justin Limoges or Limoges. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Limoges. And it was a simple photo, but it was just elegant and beautiful. And then my last favorite was the Woodwork Life, where I talked about this on the last show, but he actually took some sawdust from his shop. It was kind of a side lit. It looked like maybe he had a garage door open or a big window. Then he threw sawdust in the air to give his hand plane a really cool background, a really cool shop atmosphere. So points to all you guys. And Zach, who are your favorites?
My favorites are Barefoot Finn. It's just a black and white hand plane side view. It's just clean and nice looking. So I have 4 favorites. Also, Rick from the Woodwork Life, which you mentioned. Rick's a cool dude too. I got to meet him in where was I? 2 trips ago. Atlanta, the Workbench Con thing. And let's see, the Wooden Weekends. That was a really good one. That's the one that had kind of that red and black houndstooth background. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
It's kind of like the plane's almost all silhouetted. It's ominous. It looks like a 80s like Terminator Schwarzenegger movie or something.
I thought it was very Twin Peaks.
Yeah. It has this like, I don't know how you can, like, just the lighting has like this kind of early 90s like dramatic something to it. It's pretty cool.
That reminds me of my theater work with the psych backdrop.
Yeah. And last but not least, Kids Tool Crib with underscores between Kids Tool and Crib. That's like a late 1800s hand plane. The lighting's just perfect on it. So those are my 4 favorite. It looks like we are overlapping on
2 at least.
Oh, 2?
Well, I guess James, you have to talk about James.
Yeah. Let's do your thing.
I have Boone Langston.
He's one of my buddies I went to high school with. Yeah, his is a good one too.
He actually has a toy plane, like an airplane, and it's dramatic. It's in his hand and it's crashing to the ground and he's crying. I thought it was just this great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel as well, by the way.
And then, of course, the wooden weekend, the one that you were just talking about. I really like that backlight. It took me back to my theater days, and yeah, well done.
Those are your two?
Yeah.
So since we have the two common ones, I think it's only fair, Will, you have to pick between the Woodwork Life and the Wooden Weekends for our winner.
Oh, let's see.
It's a tough one.
That is tough. Let's see. Well, Zack, you're overlapping on two between James and I. So I think you should have to pick.
Which one do I have to choose between?
The Woodwork Life and the Wooden Weekends.
Oh man. Well, why don't you let me look for a minute. You guys hype up the next one because we need some submissions for next week. And by the way, at least for now, like whoever wins this one, I'm just going to send a t-shirt to. So I'll send you a message here when we're done with the podcast and figure out what size t-shirt you want, and I'll send one to you. We haven't really figured out our prizes yet, but we're gonna do something for the winners. So well, I decide that you guys.
Yeah, that's how we roll on the Creators Collective podcast. It's live. We
go ahead and take it, Will.
All right, so
you're the video guy.
Yeah. I'm the picture guy. I'm the media professional. So I think this is going to be a really interesting project. It's going to make you think outside the box to get your hands on tools while still taking the photo. So I think I have images of getting yourself away from the camera on a timer. Maybe you're using some sort of mirror tripods. You can make your own tripods out of, just a wood block with a hole drilled in it with a 1/4-20 bolt. You can use your cell phone. You can use your tablet. You can use your, actual camera, DSLR, mirrorless. I just think hands-on tools, you can get really creative, kind of within that woodworking craftsman. A lot of texture in your hands, dirt, under your fingernails, shavings, curls, Fibonacci curls off of the chisel, something like that. But yeah, James, do you have anything bouncing around in your head on that?
No, I have a hand and a tool, and you put the two of them together and you take a picture.
Boring.
All right. I think I've got to give it to Rick.
All right.
The Woodwork Life. God, they're both good. And there's so many other good pictures that we just couldn't mention. It looks like we got 65 submissions for this, which was so many more than we were expecting. This is a really tough decision. Almost, I'd say 90% of the pictures are really, really good. So, but
yeah, no, and that's great job, everyone.
Yeah.
This was, like Zach said, it was a really hard decision.
We had to add an extra week. I think we actually added 2 weeks to make the decision just because we were overwhelmed with the amount of stuff. So yeah.
And for those of you who want to know, I'll be trying to put a link to all of these in the description. So if you want to see those, you can see them down there.
Or just go to Instagram and do #CreatorsPhotoChallenge. That'll show you all of them as well. But yeah, so for next time, get us some pictures coming in of hands and tools, and I don't know what the prize will be, but we'll figure that out. Do we want to push that one 2 weeks because we didn't really get? Do we want to start that now and decide 2 weeks from now? And I know we said we'd start it last week, but we didn't really get many submissions because we're kind of wishy-washy.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Creative Collectors, the Creators Collective
Really?
Podcast. Yeah, yeah, where nobody wins and the points don't matter.
Well, you get a shirt or something. That kind of matters.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's go into what we're watching and reading. Will, why don't you take us off?
Yeah, so I know I've talked about him on the podcast before, but he's killing it lately. Pask Makes, Australian fella, just he put out a video on making a simple forge out of a paint can, some plaster of Paris and sand for the refractory, and a map gas torch. And it was just a really super simple video. It was short. It was just like, oh, like I'm going to go make one of those right now. And bonus points to him because he turned his forge into a pig, and he put little ears and a curly tail on the forge.
That's great.
Yeah, and he named it. I can't remember what he named it, but so yeah, that's what I'm watching right now.
Cool.
James, how about you?
I'm watching Wildman Tech. He is actually the guy who I worked with him a couple of times. He built the metal parts for the beam clamps that I made a while ago. So if you ever seen in my videos, I'm working with these wooden beam clamps with metal hardware on them. He actually made some of those a while ago, and I really love using those. But he's actually making the frame for the glue test. So a really cool channel. He does some really interesting things over there, mostly metalworking. Yeah, fascinating thing. So I have to also say I'm sorry for completely skipping your name last week. I was like, you know, the guy who's helping me out. But yeah, definitely check out his channel. It is it's got a lot of fun stuff up there.
Cool. Zach, how about you?
So being as that I'm kind of getting back into the audio and recording game, I need to brush up on my knowledge and that sort of thing. So there's a channel, let me get a link to it. It's called Sonic Sense Pro Audio. So if there's anybody that's into this sort of thing, it's, you know, I've just been kind of re-immersing myself into this world and learning how to better use compressors and all these sort of audio tools that probably not many people here care about. But if that's something you're interested in, I found it to be a pretty useful channel. I'll throw the link in the live chat as well here in a minute. But yeah, that's what I've been watching.
Cool. Well, what's your favorite product or tool of the week?
My favorite tool I'm super excited about. I finally got that welding cart together a while ago, and I have been TIG welding quite a bit over the past week when I got it set up. So that sign that I'm doing, the backlit sign, I'm actually I welded that together with silicon bronze instead of, so it's steel, but I don't know if you guys have seen like the TIG welds that are kind of like bronzy gold looking. That's silicon bronze. It's almost more like brazing because you try not to melt the parent metal as much. So that'll be in the next video. I'll probably post a short little clip of me TIG welding those corners together today on my Instagram. But yeah, I'm really enjoying TIG welding. It's fun to suck at something again and learn how to get better at it. So
I really want to try TIG welding. There's just kind of a high entry cost into TIG welding, but I really want to get into TIG welding.
Something that made all the difference in the world to me, and I'm sure there's probably a handful of TIG welders that listen to this, but changing out the cup in the lens, which is like the gas diffuser, made such a huge difference. I don't know if it's just because of the silicon bronze and just but holy crap. Like I did a lot of welding when I was in Cleveland at that school. And then when I came back, it took me a while to get it dialed in. And when I was working with that silicon bronze, I put a different gas lens and a number 8 cup on it. And it just made all the difference in the world. So maybe somebody who knows this stuff out there can tell me how or why or it made a difference.
There's all sorts of weird things with TIG that just changing a slight dynamic or the shape of the tip or the way that flows makes an incredible difference.
Yeah, what else is crazy? I mean, I learned how to do this stuff in like 2002, the first time I picked up a TIG welder, and everything has changed since then. Like you used to have like different electrodes, like for, if you're doing AC, DC, there's like lanthanated and all this, but it used to just be thoriated, and you'd have to like grind the tip differently and ball it if you're doing AC, and it's just changed. Now it's super easy. You can do everything with one electrode, so it's pretty cool.
Fun right stuff. On. What you got, Will?
I gotta say, my belt sander has been the champ this week. Just in shaping that countertop. I really dislike jigsaws especially in something that's 2 inches thick, I feel like they're not there. It's too easy for the blade to go out of square in the middle of a cut, and you get this weird wonky cut where the blade deflects. And for this project, because I wanted it to sit really nicely up against the back wall, I traced out my scribe that I made out of a sheet of Luan, my template. I traced that out on the countertop, then cut off most of the waste with my circular saw, staying away from the line, and then just worked it back to the line with a belt sander, with a handheld belt sander with a 60 grit belt on it. And it just really just ate the material super fast. And I always forget how much I like a belt sander for certain tasks.
What kind of blade are you using that wanders on a jigsaw?
Just a Bosch T-shank.
Because I always get finished capabilities off of. Well, I used to.
So
I haven't used the jigsaw in 4 or 5 years though, so I don't know.
Well,
I've always had issues.
I have kind of a question. Maybe you guys know the answer to. So on every jigsaw, there's 3 different knobs, or at least all the ones I've had, and that adjusts the angle of the blade, or maybe it's the oscillation angle or something. And I know that for certain things, certain angles seem to cut way better. I don't know if anybody knows why or what the reasoning behind that is.
I always just fiddle with the settings and figure out which one cuts the best in that certain project.
maybe somebody in the live chat or somebody that listens to this can send us a why, and we can bring that up next one, because I think that's kind of interesting. I always do the same thing. I don't know.
So I always planned it being basically the difference between if it's got a lot of high forward and backward oscillation, that makes it a very aggressive cut. It removes a lot of material very quickly, but it also leaves a poor surface. But also with it just reciprocating vertically, that also gives it a tendency to wander or the blade to twist in and out.
Huh. Yeah. And also I've noticed, especially if you're cutting curves and stuff, certain settings will turn better than others. So I don't know. We can maybe, if we get a good answer, maybe we can actually.
Yeah. I just had to say in the live chat, Jonathan Katz Moses, Carbonite Gamorrean, Jonathan 24, they all agree with me that jigsaws suck.
I used to love my jigsaw. I did all sorts of things with it.
I feel like there's times it's one of those tools that as you get more tools, you use less. But every now and then there's that occasion where it's the only tool that will do what you need it to do.
Oh, absolutely. I'll never get rid of my jigsaw. I just don't want to use it when I could use something else.
When you have a bandsaw, the jigsaw.
Well, that you also have to look at the teeth design of the blade you're using, because there are 16 different teeth patterns that you can use, and each one of those cuts differently, whether it shears or rips or slices. And each one of those have a different usage that you have to get to know.
That was
the wrong tooth pattern on a different thing gives you horrible results.
Yeah. The first woodworking tools that I got, though, because if you need to make curves and stuff and you don't have a ton of money, you
can also rip down sheets of plywood with it.
Yeah, it's great. So I don't want to take away from jigsaws. Yeah.
Well, for my product tool of the week is wooden beam clamps. I love my beam clamps. And if any of you have ever watched one of my videos where I'm making something, they are literally a wooden beam with these metal pieces on either end. They basically do what any bar clamp would do, except for they are far more enjoyable to use, and they're fun, and they're hard to find. But a while ago, I did a video on making them, and it was a collaboration with Wildman Tech, and I really enjoy them. And if you've ever watched my video, you know that I really love my beam clamps. So that's about it for this week. You have wasted almost an hour this time. Wow, we're killing a lot of people's productivity this week.
I was chatty today.
That was.
I'll see if I can edit that back a little bit.
Well, I had a whole pot of French press before we started recording, and I don't have any friends here, so whenever I get the chance to talk to people, it slips away from me.
Cool. Well, if you'd like to join the live chat, we record every Thursday at 10 Eastern time. 10 Eastern time. 9 Central Time. I have to fix that out because I'm the one in Central Time. So you can come and join us on our YouTube channel, the Creators Collective, and feel free to ask us our questions there. If you do have any questions you'd like to add, you can send those to us on one of our social media sites, Facebook's, Instagram, YouTube, wherever the cool people are, or feel free to contact one of us individually, and we'll try and get those on the list to answer in the future. So that's about it for this week. And until next time, have a wonderful day.
Adios,
Later.
guys.